If you like hardy purple succulents, this one is for you. Pachyphytum Glutinicaule, aka sticky moonstones, is a species native to Mexico. It naturally grows on exposed rocky slopes and has evolved to deal with quite inhospitable growing conditions. Glutinicaule grows in small clusters, but if the conditions are favorable, it can spread. This succulent can sometimes be confused with Pachyphytum oviferum and amethystinum due to the similar leaf shape and color. Glutinicaule grows bigger rosettes than both these succulents. It's generally just larger. Individual rosettes can grow to about 10 cm or 4 inches in diameter, but when clumps are allowed to form, they can reach well over 20 cm or 8 inches in ideal conditions. Glutinicaule grows a bit slower than other succulents, and it can take a while before growing to that size. Height-wise, it can grow up to about 15 cm or 6 inches, though the rosettes can sometimes fall to the ground under the weight of the leaves. The leaves are an oval shape, plump and rounded at the tips. They are covered in a dusty substance called the farina, which acts like a sunscreen and protects the leaves from sunburn. The color is silvery grey during the warmer months and can turn a stunning light lavender in winter or when the plant is stressed. Pachyphytum Glutinicaule is a sun lover and will grow best in a sunny spot outdoors. It will tolerate outdoor shade and filtered light, but can grow leggy and stretched as a result. Glutinicaule can be susceptible to fungal disease such as rot, black spot or powdery mildew. When grown in shade, it is more likely to become a host. Unfortunately, this succulent is not suitable to be grown indoors long term and will likely die unless you have plant growing lights, a sunroom or a huge sunny window. Glutinicaule will happily grow in pots as well as frost-free gardens. If grown in pots, repotting every year or so will ensure lots of offsets and a healthy plant. It can also be grown in small pots, but once root bound, the growth will grind to a halt. If you only get very mild frosts, no colder than -2 degrees, it can be grown in the garden as well. To help it establish and grow better, mix any type of potting mix in with the garden soil. Roots of this Pachyphytum are quite thin and can find it hard to break through hard garden soil. By cultivating and mixing in a bit of potting mix, you'll add nutrients and improve the structure. Despite the harsh environment of its homelands, Glutinicaule will grow better in richer garden soil. Make sure to plant in a spot where water doesn't pool after the rain. In pots, the absolute best potting medium is a succulent potting mix. It will have the right pH and nutrients tailored to succulent plants. As mentioned earlier, when planting in the garden, cultivating the soil will give you a nicer plant. This Pachyphytum is a tough little plant that will tolerate drought but can be susceptible to black spot when the weather is too wet and humid. It can be left out in the rain, but do make sure it's planted in well-draining potting mix, and if in pots, there should be a drainage hole. If in a greenhouse or undercover, water well once the potting mix dries up completely from previous watering. In summer, this could mean watering a couple of times per week and almost not at all during the cold months. Temperature-wise, Glutinicaule will tolerate heat well over 40 degrees Celsius or 104 Fahrenheit, though it should be moved out of the sun once it gets this hot. If exposed to direct sun during extreme heat waves, the leaves can suffer sunburn and the plant could die, especially when planted in dark-colored pots. It's a bit frost tolerant, but it's not likely to survive when frost settles for too long or when it snows. Frost cloth can be used to protect your succulents from the occasional frost, but if your climate gets snow, I'd advise to bring this plant indoors for the duration. This succulent can be propagated from leaf, cuttings or seed. In my opinion, the seed is not worth trying as it's a super long process and it can be hard to find a reliable seed seller. For fast results, try propagating cuttings. Wait until there's a bit of a stalk and cut with clean scissors. The cuttings should then be left to dry in a shaded dry spot for a minimum of 24 hours. They can then be planted into pots filled with succulent potting mix and transplanted into the garden or a bigger pot once enough roots develop. First roots should start growing in 2 to 4 weeks and the plant will be ready to transplant in approximately 2 to 3 months. If you want loads of plants, leaf propagation is the way to go. Glutinicaule grows very well from leaf. They can take a bit of time to get going, but the success rate is good. The leaves are very easy to remove thanks to the shape of the leaf. This is half of the propagation battle won. The whole leaf will need to come off and nothing of it should be left on the stalk. Broken leaves can have trouble propagating. I leave the leaves in a tray in a bright bud covered greenhouse and wait for leaf babies to emerge. I then plant them in trays or pots filled with succulent potting mix and wait a few months until the roots have grown well into the pot. To get a fuller pot faster, you can put 3 or more leaves in it. In my experience, propagating is best done in spring. Summer is usually also good, but do be careful to protect your cuttings and leaves from strong sun as they can burn easily. In climates where autumn and winter are mild, you can also propagate cuttings at the beginning of autumn. Personally, I stop propagating leaves by early to mid-summer so the plant has a chance to develop before winter. Glutinicaule is susceptible to all the succulent pests. Mealybugs, foliage and root as well as aphids find Pachyphytum very tasty and often make themselves at home. Aphids are most likely to attack when the flowers come up. Root mealybugs usually settle on root-bound plants. This is why checking on the health of the roots can be important. Bigger pests such as snails, slugs, caterpillars and grasshoppers can pose a threat too. The blooms are bell-shaped, pendulous and grow on a tall stem high above the foliage. They are a pretty pink color and open up one by one. Here in Australia, Glutinicaule flowers at the end of winter and throughout early spring, but this can be different in other parts of the world. This succulent is said to be non-toxic to dogs, cats, other pets, livestock and humans. Having said that, I would not advise making a Glutinicaule salad just in case. And that is all there is to know about Pachyphytum Glutinicaule. If you have anything to add or a question to ask, you can do so in the comments below. To learn more about succulents, hit the subscribe button or go to succulentgrowingtips.com. Thank you so very much for watching.